tutula, uloliwahi, tutula, uloliwahi, tutula, nangosisa. Uloliwahi, tutula, uloliwahi, tutula, uloliwahi, tutula, nangosisa. Sule zonyembe zimtakwetu, sule zonyembe zimtakwetu, sule zonyembe zimtakwetu, nangwesisa. Sule zonyembe zimtakwetu, sule zonyembe zimtakwetu, sule zonyembe zimtakwetu, nangwesisa. Bavuna hai, ukuya kuna hatandaza. Bezuluhu ankosni, kutlali welezodwa. Bavuna hai, ukuya kuna hatandaza. Wait, tutula, 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 nangosisa. Loli, wait, tutula, 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 nangosisa. Sula zonyembe zimtakwetu, sula zonyembe zimtakwetu, sula zonyembe zimtakwetu, nangosisa. Loliwe, wait tutula, uloliwahi, tutula, uloliwahi, tutula, nangosisa. Ofezulu enkosinihi kutlali belezodwa maovuna hai kuya kuna hatandaza. Ofezulu enkosinihi kutlali belezodwa maovuna hai kuya kuna hatandaza.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second annual UN Dream event as we celebrate the 77th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations. Thank you for joining us today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Merly Barlan. I am the IVP and Director of WFWPI's Office for UN Relations in New York. This year, we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations, of the Women's Federation for World Peace. The UN Day is celebrated in many different ways all over the world. Today, we celebrate by raising awareness and taking action, shining a light on the dark journey of 14 million girl children all over the world. Under the theme, the UN Dream, creating an environment where girls can be girls, not brides. This event aims to reflect on the common purpose of the UN and WFWPI and explore hopeful solutions to long-standing issues as we commemorate the 77th anniversary of UN Day and honor the 30th anniversary of the founding of WFWPI. I'd like to invite you all to watch the short video of WFWP's 30-year journey to establish a world of peace.
God created women with an amazing ability to love. When we think of mothers, we remember warmth, happiness, and peace. In 1992, founded by Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon and her late husband, Reverend Sun Myung Moon, Women's Federation for World Peace took a historic step on the path toward world peace and toward changing the world with maternal love.
세계 평화 여성 연합 운동은 여성만을 위한 운동이 아닙니다. 이상적 가정들이 모여서 이상적인 국가, 이상적인 세계를 이루게 되는 것입니다.
Since our founding in 1992, WFWP members have organized activities in 119 countries aimed at transforming this world into a world of peace, peace and reconciliation, women's leadership, family support, and women's independence. Thanks to our partnerships with the UN, governments, and a wide variety of public and private organizations, these efforts have brought true progress. More than 160,000 women have participated in sisterhood ceremonies to reconcile historical resentment and move toward peace and reconciliation. More than 360,000 women received leadership training to empower them and secure their status in society. More than 327,000 women have received education for building peaceful families. And more than 35,000 women and girls have received training and education that has helped them to become financially independent. Over the last 30 years, much has been achieved and women's rights have greatly improved. But even where there has been progress, it is not enough, and tremendous challenges still remain in many countries. For example, despite improved school enrollment, 1 in 10 young women today are still unable to read and write. Another challenge is the lack of women in top leadership positions. 3/4 of all parliamentarians in the world are men. Furthermore, at the tables where peace is discussed, the vast majority of negotiators and signatories are men. We know that women's involvement would bring more lasting peace agreements. Even at this moment, the sound of guns is ringing out in many places throughout the world. Never has it been so clear that we must act with urgency to bring peace. Even in the face of great challenges, women have an extraordinary ability to find peaceful solutions to problems. Over the past 30 years, the amazing love and dedication of thousands of WFWP volunteers have brought real and lasting change in many places throughout the world. With a mother's heart, we will continue this journey until peace is a reality for all and no one is left behind.
Following the end of the World War II, the UN was founded as an intergovernmental organization to prevent the scourge of war and maintain global peace and security. Early this year, when the war in Ukraine broke out, the whole world came to realize that the dream of achieving peace and sustainable development among nations has become more and more difficult to achieve. While the UN struggles to pursue its founding purpose amidst myriads of global economic, health, social, and existential issues such as climate change, there's always the risk of losing sight on important issues such as the plight of women and girls, particularly in ending violence against children and providing equal access to their rights, education, and the right to a clean and healthy environment. In our quest to find sustainable and important solutions to address the problems of climate change and child marriages, WFWP International and our WFWP national chapters in Africa will shed light on these cross-cutting issues, encouraging collaboration and partnerships with governments and civil society organizations, youth leaders in the communities, and work together with the families to create transformative and enabling environments. And for our girls to live and enjoy a normal childhood with the love of their families and a safe and embracing community. With today's discussion, we hope to see concrete actions that will pave a way for the millions of children in Africa to blossom beautifully and fulfill their God-given potentials. Today, we are bringing together high-level women leaders and trailblazers, such as Dr. Rima Sala, former Undersecretary General of the United Nations and chairperson of Early Childhood Peace Consortium, Madame Therese Tomo, President of the United Nations African Mothers Association, and Dr. Sakina Yakubi, the founder of the Afghan Institute of Learning. Today, we will also honor our emerging young women leaders of Africa who are blazing the trail in addressing environmental issues in their countries. We will also hear from the IVP of the WFWP Africa, Dr. Susan Kone, representing all of WFWP chapters in Africa. And moving forward as they take on the challenge to embark on these important advocacies to address the intersecting issues of child marriages and climate change. As we start our program, I'd like to quote a powerful and deeply touching words from the co-founder of WFWPI, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon. In her Mother of Peace memoir, she said, and I quote, "Every one of us needs to feel deeply grateful for being born. There is not one person whose birth is meaningless. Moreover, no person's life is his or hers alone. Peace means that all energies in the entire world and in the entire universe are in harmony. Therefore, no one should belittle his or her life." Unquote. Our UN Dream Forum series envisions to create a platform for meaningful and impactful discussion to bring together representatives from the elder and younger generations where aspirations, inspiration, and wisdom can be exchanged, provide an embracing platform where people can feel optimism for the future once again. We work together to implement concrete actions from hallways of the UN down to the community halls and homes in the communities to strive to work together towards achieving the UN dream, which is our common dream, a world of peace and harmony where everyone's life is precious and beautiful. May this forum open many doors of hope and liberation for the millions of girl children to enjoy their precious lives, to live it happily as girls, not brides. Let us hear from Mrs. Carolyn Hanshin for our opening remarks. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Hanshin. She is the president of the NGO Committee on the Status of Women at the United Nations in Geneva. She is also the international vice president of WFWPI, overseeing programs of development through the 22 national chapters in Europe. Mrs. Hanshin guides the leadership and advocacy training of young women and men in the WFWPI UN internship program in Geneva and remains active as the co-founder and program director of the GIIA Model Interreligious Council program. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mrs. Carolyn Hanshin.
Thank you, Merle, and our office in New York for this invitation and for the interest that you are garnering for this topic. Greetings to Dr. Sala and to the other speakers. We can think that child brides is far from us in Europe or in New York, but actually it touches all of us, and all of us have a place in our heart to understand the kind of effect that it can have. Everyone can do something, beginning with awareness raising. As a mother of 5 girls, I know we try to protect our children from so many infractions on their rights to safe and supportive development and freedom to make healthy choices. Child marriages are deeply rooted in traditions. As such, more traditional societies do not recognize necessarily that giving their children to marriage at an early age is a violation of their rights or even their dignity. It is important for us to remember that, especially from outside, in the way that we speak about this, in the way that we try to influence this with some kind of respect for those societies. Wisdom. For that, I spoke with several young advocates. Just last week, I was at the UN in Vienna at the UN at the Transnational Organized Crime conferences, and there was quite an amazing delegation, small but very powerful delegation from Africa, whom we spent some time with. One is Mr. Patrick's, and one is Caroline. And their commitment really to some of these points, especially connected with transnational organized crime, which includes child brides, was really shook me, actually. Solutions cannot be narrow. They involve the child, of course, the parents, other family members, community, public authorities, and of course, governments and international diplomats. All must be part of this solution and really making that it holds. United, of course, foremost for the benefit of the child. Diplomatic channels are very important. That's something that we can do from our side to urge governments to change their views about child marriages. And among governments, there is a peer kind of pressure or concern that we can play on. The UN can and does make beautifully worded declarations and recommendations, but they oftentimes cannot meet their mark. The education of girls is essential in solving this problem. Civic education is important also to encourage parents to educate their children and to see the value of educating their children. Through advocacy, governments can be persuaded to make it mandatory for girls to come to school. Political will must be harnessed at every opportunity. Even employers can be influenced to offer benefits to parents who assure that their children, especially girls, go to school. Even the situation with school fees, there must be pressure that school fees remain low enough that the children can be able to afford going to school. Civil society organizations can organize mentoring programs and sharing of success stories among students, which is very powerful. Peer-to-peer education is also very, very effective. Sensitization against child marriage at all levels. We have to support more young girls in their potential for responsible leadership, even when that is not the norm in their society. When people start to engage meet and engage parents at the community level to stop giving their children in child marriage. This will eventually influence the need to stop and prioritize education for their children. One way to empower the voices of effective communities is to enlighten them on their rights, which is something we can help with, being in contact with local civil society organizations and offering tools and different ways that they can, training and education that they can work with. We can engage leaders and hold them accountable for the wrong that they do. And of course, this is powerful but sensitive in local communities and must be done in a wise way. Always, as in the way that we in Women's Federation work, we engage for change and advocate for change, but always with the attitude not just to accuse and to push the other into the corner, but to say that we are with you and we want to partner with you for this change. Maybe we can do better together. Women's Federation has so many programs to break down barriers between culture, to educate in character, and to build community and social cohesion. At my office in Geneva at the UN, we are currently holding a series of workshops on engaging on a new level with governments for the Sustainable Development Goals, teaching about the government side of responsibility, about the covenants, about what they have promised, and then being able to go with the right talking points to encourage them to fulfill their commitments, while we again say we want to work with you in cooperation and in partnership to do so. We have a series of human rights internship programs ongoing that have been empowering young women and men to draft and publish papers that advocate for their most passionate injustices, guiding them to advocate and to partner, not just accuse, but helping them to understand how they can really use that passion that they have to really influence their governments and to create partnerships that they can take back home and really win their cases. We have a program next week with youth from 4 continents coming to Geneva to participate at the Human Rights Council so they can learn, so they can experience that these platforms, even intergovernmental platforms, are something that they can breach, something they can relate to, something they can imagine to influence, as government leaders are human beings, people who can be appealed to with the right causes. We need to support girls and young women in responsible leadership to become ambassadors for their causes with confidence and strength, and to give them the support and the echo that they need so that they can feel that their cause is our cause is their cause, and it is all a global cause. I wish you a most productive debate, and most especially in very realistic, achievable outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hanshin. Thank you for your insightful message. You have mentioned many points, important points, list of possible and practical solutions, ways where the UN, governments, and civil society leaders can work together with their families and communities to provide enabling environment for girls to have access to quality education and be protected from these harmful practices. Moving forward, let us welcome Dr. Rima Sala for the keynote address. Dr. Sala serves as the chairperson of the Early Childhood Peace Consortium, founded in the belief that children and families can be agents of change for peace. She is the former Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations, former Deputy Executive Director of UNICEF, former Deputy Special Representative of the Secretary General to the UN Mission in Central African Republic and Chad, and served on the UN High-Level Independent Panel on Peace Operations. She is currently at the Yale Child Study Center. Let us welcome Dr. Sala.
Excellencies, distinguished participants, friends and colleagues, it gives me great pleasure to be with you today. I want to thank Ms. Merle Barlan, the International Vice President and Deputy Director, Office for UN Relations for Women's Federation for World Peace International, for honoring me with her invitation to celebrate with you the 77th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations and the 30th anniversary of WFWPI. What a great theme chosen to commemorate these auspicious occasions, creating an environment where girls be girls, not brides. My long journey to protect the rights of children and girls, combating all kinds of discriminatory practices against girls, combating traditional harmful practices, including early, forced, and child marriage, started many years ago when I joined the United Nations and UNICEF. Although the adoption of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women in 1979, further reinforced by the Beijing Declaration and Platform of Action adopted in 1995, and the adoption of the Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1989, led to progress in gender equality and the realization of the rights of women and girls. As such, more girls survived past the age of 5. More girls had access to basic services, health, water, and sanitation, and more girls are in school, preventing millions of child marriages. Unfortunately, progress has been only true for some, leaving millions of women and girls behind, and the rights denied because of who they are, where they live, and the opportunities they don't have. We also know that social and cultural traditions can perpetuate inequality and discrimination from generation to generation as gender stereotypes remain unchallenged. This dire situation of women and girls is amplified in situations of war, conflict, and displacement. Their vulnerability is further exacerbated by the impact of climate change and COVID-19 on their societies and communities. For example, according to UNESCO, the closure of schools during the pandemic left 1.5 billion children out of school, and many of girls will never go back to school, fueling early and forced child marriage. On the 8th of March 2021, UNICEF declared that 10 million additional child marriages may occur before the end of the decade. Excellencies, distinguished participants, there is no better time than now to unite our strength and action to change this tide and build a world where every girl can enjoy her childhood, and early childhood development is the beginning. We know this, that early childhood development is the beginning. Investing in the early years of life has a double dividend toward the realization of gender equality and children's rights. There is an emerging and well-established scientific evidence from multiple disciplines that continue to substantiate the link between the early years of life and early life environment with long-term well-being, violence prevention, and behaviors linked with peaceful communities. We know that early childhood services can be cost-effective and sustainable way to empower parents, families, and communities to interrupt cycles of poverty, deprivation, inequality, and including gender inequality, and build a strong foundation for social justice and social cohesion. This will put us on the right path to realize the rights of every girl, to stop child marriage, and restore the dignity of every girl and her family. The time is now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sala. Thank you. We are immensely grateful for your greatly inspiring, insightful, and empowering message. Early childhood education is fundamental in every human being's growing process. Awareness of children's rights to education is crucial in ending child marriages, and everyone in the society plays an important role to make it happen. Thank you once again, Dr. Sala. For our next keynote speaker, I'd like to introduce a truly inspiring figure, not just in Africa, but in the international community. Madame Therese Tomo, the president of the United Nations African Mothers Association. She is the spouse of the permanent representative of Cameroon to the UN. She is the president of the UN African Mothers Association, a non-political, a non-religious nonprofit fighting to improve social economic alleviation for women and children in Africa. She previously served as the president of the UN International Bazaar, UN Delegation Women's Club, and UN African Ambassadors Spouses Group. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Madame Therese Tomo.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I thank the Women's Federation for Peace, the board, and Mrs. Merlan, International Vice President and CEO, Deputy Director for UN Relations, Women Federation for World Peace. Today's topic is very important. I mean, the UN dream, creating an environment where girls can be girls, not brides. In other words, how to discourage, or rather, how to combat and put an end to the girl marriage. The girl marriage is a worldwide and well-rooted phenomenon of public concern. It's harmful to quite a number of girls with reverse effect on their education, health, sexual and reproductive health, and the overall development of adolescents and youth, conclude a study by UNFPA and UNICEF. The UN, even at its 77 years of existence, is still having difficulty eradicating this phenomenon. I'm surprised to read in paper time and time again about this issue, and even witnesses how a 65-year-old man marrying a 12-year-old girl, arguing that he did it with the consent, with the permission of the girl's parents. That's unbelievable. That's a scandal. So we, through our association, the United Nations African Mothers Association, UNAMA, and in conformity with the guidelines specified in the UN Sustainable Development Goal, are investing to improve the education and health of women and children in Africa, mostly the young girl. As a mother, we are more than concerned about this practice, and we are putting all effort to end this child marriage. It brings cheer to eyes to see, to really witness our baby girl being deprived from her childhood and adolescence, but suddenly becoming a bride. We are striving to assist women and children, mostly the girls, achieving the standard of learning, therefore the standard of living. We believe that no child should be left behind. Our girl child to have her right to fully enjoy her childhood by all means. She should have it. By all means, our girl should be the girl, not the bride. So today, I want to focus, to concentrate my exposure in one case in Cameroon, case study. Why Cameroon? Because it's usually said that Cameroon, a Central African country, is known as African in miniature because of its geographical and cultural diversity. So what the discussion we're making here is good for almost the whole Africa. The child marriage is witnessed throughout the Cameroon, even though the phenomenon is mostly observed in the Adamawa, the Far North province, and the village in the northwest provinces. It is a reality, an ongoing concern in Romo village in Cameroon. Even though it's practically disappearing in the city, it is increasingly urgent to be addressed because it involves more than 30% of the girls. It is awful knowing that all these children, all these girls, they are leaders for tomorrow. What are the main causes? We talk about the early marriage is due mainly to non-education, poverty, religion beliefs, competition, living in the rural area, instability, conflict, and so on and so forth. The low level of girl education and or non-education, a total lack of education, force her to get married early in order to procreate and enlarge the family. This the real be that the more a family has a member, the stronger and the richer the family seems to be. Poverty is another reason. Parents marry a child in order to get money from the dowry to live a better life, to buy a farm to the family, to send the boy to school, to pay their debt, and so on and so on. Both parents seriously believe that a rich in-law will definitely better their financial situation and their social standing. The competition is another side. In part of the northern area of Cameroon, people often get married to children because when the girl is very pretty, very beautiful, and has rich parents, all the eyes are fixed on her. So to avoid risking a harsh competition, the future husband will choose early marriage and will keep the newlywed wife on his house until she grown up enough before engaging in sexual activity with her. Sometimes it might take 2, 3, 4, or 5 years before the thing gets ready. We talk about the religion belief too, because some religion authorize polygamy because they know that polygamy is an access in the family. All the reasons have harmful consequences of the girl and compel her to early marriage, domestic violence, suppression of education, health issue, and high risk of pregnancy, and of course, human rights violation. Therefore, it becomes a pressing issue and urgent to be addressed to and to be taken care of. Nowadays, locally in Cameroon, child marriage is despairing because the young generation is associated itself with less and less forced marriage. The girl will usually run away in case her parents try to get her married at a very young age, and will seek a shelter somewhere, whereas in a remote village, she will be quickly found. As more and more girls in remote village are now allowed to get education, it's becoming very challenging to their parents to force them into unwanted marriage. Education has also been very helpful as young men are more and more aware of the fact that love has to be an essential part of the marital union. Now there are some measures taken by the administration to try to solve the issue. The local administration have decided to bring the legal minimum marriageable age at 15 for the girl and 18 for the boys, with the consent of both parties and equally recognized by an official document. So ending girl marriage give us the opportunity, the opportunity to adolescent girls to realize their full potential while improving material and child health and childhood. Hopefully, the phenomenon is decreasing nowadays since the society at large, the social and non-governmental organization and the UN are joining hands together and work closely to eradicate the shameful act so as to save our girls, the leader of tomorrow, through a very sound education. Together we can, and then we have to work very hard. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Madame Tomo, for your compelling yet heart-rending message. Thank you for bringing this issue to light. We commend the efforts of UNAMA to empower girls and end child marriages. Thank you so much. At this point, we are going to move on to the second part of our program, the presentation of WFWPI Global Women Peace Ambassador Awards to Young Leaders. Last year, during our first UN Dream Forum, His Excellency Enrique Manalo, then permanent representative of the Republic of the Philippines to the UN, he emphasized how the youth are agents of change and engaging them is critical to inclusive nation building. The co-founder of WFWPI, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon, stated that youth is the most important and beautiful period of our lives. All great leaders in history had a definite sense of purpose from the very time they were children. From childhood, they nurtured that purpose, held within their hearts, and exerted energy to achieve it. In light of this, WFWPI would like to recognize and honor the achievements and service of 3 outstanding young women leaders in Africa who strive to work for the benefit of others. The Global Women's Peace Network is a project of WFWP, which was launched in 2012. Its vision is to realize develop partnership within women organizations to create a peaceful world transcending barriers of race, religion, language, and national borders. The Global Women Peace Ambassadors Award the awardees are leaders from all sectors of society and all walks of life, dedicated to building a worldwide community of peace through applying the peace-building principles essential to WFWP, which is living for the sake of others. The mission statement of the Global Women's Peace Ambassadors is they are part of a global network of peace leaders representing the religious, racial, and ethnic diversity of the human family and all disciplines of human endeavor. They stand in the common ground of shared values and are committed to the path of promoting reconciliation, overcoming barriers, and building peace. GWPN statement of purpose, it brings together leaders and organizations and governments to solve pressing issues, social issues, and secure an environment for equitable human development. Through peace leadership based on feminine aspect of human nature, the Global Women's Peace Network seeks to ensure lasting peace and prosperity for generations to come. Please allow me to read the citation of the Global Women Peace Ambassador Award. The Women's Federation for World Peace International, on behalf of its co-founders, Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, is proud to recognize the awardee as Global Peace Ambassador based on their exemplary accomplishment in the area of climate adaptation initiatives. Global Women Peace Ambassadors are peace leaders representing the religious, racial, and ethnic diversity of human family and all disciplines of human endeavor. They stand in the common ground of shared values and are committed to the path of promoting reconciliation, overcoming barriers, and building peace. Given this 28th day of October 2022, signed WFWP International President Dr. Julia Moon, Director of Office for UN Relations, New York, Mrs. Merle Barlan, and International Vice President for Africa, Dr. Susan Kone. I would like to introduce to you the 3 outstanding young women leaders in Africa to receive the Global Women Peace Ambassador Award. Ms. Teddy Aine. Ms. Aine is a journalist by profession and is currently the Deputy CEO of Glory Media House. She has great passion for photography and has used photography as a means of generating climate awareness on social media platforms. She is an environmentalist and the winner of the WFWP Women's Speech Contest in Uganda. Currently, she is pursuing a Bachelor's of Public Administration and Management at Cavendish University and works with the Heart to Heart organization. Let us welcome Ms. Teddy Aine for her acceptance message.
Sorry, Miss Aine, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to have been selected to receive the Global Women Peace Ambassador Award. I'm also so honored to have my work recognized in this way by the WFWP Ugandan chapter through the WFWP International UN. Today, I'm so proud and happy that this award is not just for me, but it's for those frightened women out there that want peace. It's for the voiceless women that want change over human rights and climate change. And it's for those forgotten girls and women out there that want education. And lastly, it's for those forgotten families that lost their beloved ones due to climate crisis. As I receive this award, I'm very happy that we all here together are fighting an important cause, and it's the last time that we see women deprived of education, oppressed, abused, and discriminated against. It's the last time we see women fold their hands and look on as the environment is being destroyed. I'm here to stand up for the girls' and women's rights and to fight the climate change and environment crisis, for it is real. Let us take action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Aine, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on the next awardee, Miss Mariama Jamboni Vaji. Ms. Vaji is a 24-year-old civil engineer and a co-founder and CEO of DNA SARL, a construction company that offers living environments respecting nature. She volunteers at Africa Feliz Senegal and attended the Youth Connect Africa in Accra in 2021. Ms. Baji is laureate of the Sahel Innovative Challenge 2021 and is one of the UN Development Program's champions as a young leader for the SDGs class of 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome and congratulate Ms. Mariam Jamboni Baji, and let us hear her acceptance message.
Thank you so much. So first, I thank the WFWP International UN Office for choosing my humble self for this ambassadorial role. Regarding your experience and valuable goals, being put forward in this way is really heartwarming, but it's harder and have more impact. It's a role that I accept with a great honor, and that confirms me in the path I have chosen and gives me even more courage for the road ahead. Today, more than ever, I reiterate my commitment in front all of the WFWP international structure to actively participate in the fight against climate change and mainly its impact on girls and their rights. Regarding the work and efforts that this honorable organization already did and put on this side, I am convinced that the only way to aspire to a peaceful world is through education, love, and environmental impact. If the issues of climate change, sustainability, and especially the environment are put at the heart of the debates and decisions, we'll sure start to change things positively, because we need actions, and more important, actions taken together to hope for a better world. Today more than ever, I believe that working with you as a partnership and big family is the best way to actively contribute to a world where girls' skills, potentials, and leadership can be on the front line and used as springboard for building a world of peace, justice, and constant progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baji, and congratulations to you once again. Our next Global Women Peace Ambassador is Ms. Sarah Wanjiku Juguna. Ms. Sarah Wanjiku Juguna is a 22-year-old strategist, environmentalist, eco-warrior, peer counselor, and mental health champion. She is a fourth-year student pursuing a bachelor's degree of science in strategic management at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. She is a representative in the Kenya Inter-University Student Association and chairperson of JKUAT Environmental Management Association. She is passionate about environment and climate adaptation. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome and congratulate and hear the message, acceptance message of Ms. Juguna.
First and foremost, I would like to thank the organizers, that is the Women's Federation for World Peace International UN Relations Office, for organizing this prestigious event, and also thank the Women's Federation for Women Peace Africa for the recommendation and for creating a platform where various issues can be discussed, solutions implemented, and rewards and appraisals given. They say great things happen when people come together. Okay, being in the climate crisis, we appreciate and thank all the people who have and are trying to take the necessary actions needed. Their deeds are not, don't go unnoticed. It takes the whole community, region, whether both male and female, in this fight, and through consistency and persuasion, we will achieve an environmental friendly work where Mother Nature is taken care of and appreciated. Yeah. That's it for now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And congratulations once again, Ms. Njuguna. And once again, let us congratulate these three inspiring young women leaders. Kudos to your hopeful and commendable work in addressing the environmental issues in your country by raising awareness and leading the way in championing education, children's rights, and the protection and healing of the planet. WFWPI aims to provide many more girls, especially those who are living in communities that are still practicing child marriages, with education, tools, and support to equip them in realizing their great potentials. Now, at this point, let us move on to the third part of our program, the panel discussion. And I would like to introduce to you our moderator for this panel, Ms. Musu Bakoto Sawo. Ms. Sawo is a human rights defender and lawyer with over 20 years of experience in advocating for the rights of women and children. She has in-depth knowledge of human rights, both as a holder of an LLM in human rights and through her membership and leadership within various civil society organizations. She has translated this knowledge into capacity building, program development, and practical engagement with human rights mechanisms and grassroots organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Ms. Musu Bakoto Sawo.
Thank you very much, Mali. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be around the world. It gives me such an honor and pleasure to serve as the moderator for this session. With me are distinguished panelists whom I would have the pleasure of introducing. First is Dr. Sakina Yakubi, who is the Executive Director of the Afghan Institute of Learning, which she founded in 1995 in response to the lack of education and healthcare that Afghan people were facing after decades of war and strife. Under her leadership, AIL has impacted the lives of millions of Afghans. Her organization continues to use innovative programs to support grassroots communities and individuals in Afghanistan. Dr. Yakubi received the Suhat Peace Prize in 2017. Also joining me is Ms. Fatima Gomez. Ms. Fatima Gomez is a Think Young Women volunteer, a Young Nerve Center leader for Education Plus initiative, and an adolescent girl advisor counselor for the Global Fund for Women. Fatima is enthusiastic about feminism and gender equality. She has participated actively in both domestic and international advocacy movements. Fatima is currently studying law at the University of the Gambia and hopes to use her degree to advance the rights of women and girls. Also joining us as part of the distinguished panels are the 3 awardees of the Global Women's Peace Ambassador Award. Ms. Teddy Aine would be joining me on the panel. Ms. Mariama Jamboni Baji would also be joining me on the panel, and Ms. Sarah Wanjiku Juguna will also be joining me. Again, it is such an honor, especially given the fact that this panel is mainly young people, and nothing gives me pride and joy than to see my young and fellow people flourish. Before we delve into, and give an opportunity to the panelists or the participants to fully engage with the panelists, I wish to ask the first question to Dr. Yakubi. Dr. Yakubi, as someone who has been working in advancing access to education for women and girls, not only in Afghanistan, but around the world, what do you think are the steps that civil society organizations can take to promote education, which is often hampered by child marriages? Dr. Yakubi, are you with us?
Oh. Dr. Yakubi, you are muted.
Yes, thank you.
There.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. First of all, it's a great honor to be invited by WPI for that such a wonderful event, which is it is close to my heart. And the way that this conference is performed, I think that this is the way that the action has to be taken. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. First of all, to answer your question, I just want to say a few things through my experience and through the life that I have been working for 31 years, that what I have seen and why I am working on education. A girl who is arm is so weak. She is a little girl carrying a basket of clothes from the river, which is wet clothes, taking home. And a girl who is beating up because she could not collect the wood. A girl who is beating up because she could not cook the food. A girl who is beating up because she doesn't know how to carry the child that she delivered because she is only 12 years old. This is something that inhuman. I think humanity should think about that. What is the cause? What is the root of this issue? Until we don't get the root of this issue, we will not be able to achieve child marriage. We will not be able to give the potential that this young woman has. And we will not be able to give them the leadership that is their right. Why I am saying that? The reason I'm saying that for 31 years, EOL has been constantly working on education and try to educate the civil society, the traditional people, the people who believe that early child marriages is okay, to try to change and transform their mind. Did we achieve something? Yes, we did. How we did it? Through a lot of education, through a lot of classes, through a lot of interaction to villages, to tribes, to the leader of the tribe, to the leader of the mosque, to many, many people. But what happened? All of a sudden, bam, what happened? The system changed. The country went through Kuwait. The country went through a system change, and the country went through poverty. You know the increase that we met. It is experience for me to share this with you. Why I want to share this with you? Through this poverty, all of a sudden, the 30% that we were gaining, we dropped to 50% lower. Why? Because of the poverty. When poverty hit the country, all those men sold their daughter to a 60 years old man who is only 10 years or 12 years. And when we talk to them and try to say, why you are doing that? And you know, their answer is something that I couldn't argue with them. I really couldn't. They tell me, you know, instead of my family dying one by one, I gave up one to make sure that the other six survive. That much poverty impacting the society. So we really need to create jobs. We need to continuously provide education that people have a better lifestyle, and we continuously need to focus on girls' education. I am so proud that Julia Moon, they are providing this kind of a award for these young women, because these are the future leader for tomorrow. And I am for this. And I would love to continuously go, but I will wait for the other panel to talk about it. So I think that the root cause of child marriage is poverty, education, and also inequality. This is something that we must work on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yakubi. Key among the things that we've talked about is the issue of education. And I believe that education has the ability to change the narrative. As a former child bride myself, I am only here because of the education that I've been able to provide myself with and fighting to stay in school. So thank you for that. I would now like to go to Ms. Fatima Gomez. So Ms. Gomez, as someone who has been doing incredible work in your community when it comes to advancing the rights of women and girls, particularly on harmful traditional practices such as child marriages, what do you think young people can do? How can young people serve as a catalyst to end child marriage practices in their community, especially as it relates to climate change? Ms. Gomez, are you with us? If Ms. Gomez is not with us or is unable to...
I think she needs to unmute. Please go ahead and unmute yourself, Ms. Gomez.
I can come back to Ms. Gomez if she's having technical issues. Perhaps I could throw the question also to three of our awardees, starting with Ms. Baji. Ms. Baji, do you have something to say about how young people can serve as catalysts to ending child marriages, particularly as it relates to climate change?
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, today I think that early child marriage has become a generational problem, because on the one hand there is the old generation that is still anchored in strong customs, traditions, and the new generation that is now more open-minded. So I think that young people must be the springboard between those two parties to facilitate the understanding. And most importantly, in my opinion, they must serve as example to the younger generation by inspiring them through their journey and the impact they have in their communities. Because female role models need to be put forward to show to parents the different possibilities for girls if they are allowed to continue their education, and that they can help them out of poverty, but on their own this time. Because I think the main problem with child marriage is also poverty, as Dr. Yacobi said. And one of these steps today is to increase the anti-poverty strategies. So young people can help on these. And before inspiring, they can also serve as catalysts on their different communities. They can make directly actions to inspire the younger people and discuss with the more with the old generation, as I said below. And I think also they can help working on this problem of mentalities, this problem of strong cultural beliefs, because we must get rid of the weight of traditions, because most African ethnic groups are dominated by the customs, where the woman is above all a mother and a wife, placed under the authority of her father first, and then of her husband. So I think that young people right now must work together to have more impact and really serve as catalysts to end child marriage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baji. Resource mobilization, partnership in the process are key when it comes to fighting or ending issues of child marriages. Most especially also, I am quite pleased by what you said about mentorship, where the older generation owe it to the younger generation to teach them about things and to enable them become the leaders that they ought to be, the leaders that they desire to be. I want to ask Ms. Aine, as someone who works in the field of communications and being a CEO of a whole media house, I have a question for you. I am interested in knowing, as someone, how can we use media? How can we leverage on media opportunities to sustain the gains that we have made to ensure that we continue to make more progress when it comes to environmental issues as they relate to child marriages?
I hope you can hear me now. Okay. Thank you for this opportunity once again. I'm so glad that I'm part of this winning team. Well, how can we use media to make sure that we curb down this whole thing of early child marriages and basically the climate change crisis? I personally, I use most of my social media platforms, my Twitter, my Facebook, my WhatsApp statuses, and maybe my Instagram to talk about climate change. I come from a country where I've witnessed climate change that is leading to people dying. Recently, last month, in a certain district, I saw floods that wrought havoc, and I saw a family of two, actually a mother and twins, that were taken away by these floods. I was so much hurt, and everyone was so silent about this. I watched crops being taken away, swept away, and I saw landslides, you know, taking up families. Families are being displaced, and we are losing loved ones because of the climate change. But no one talks about this. We, the youth, most of the youth in my country are green about climate change. And who is supposed to stand out and educate the youth about climate change? It's us that have gotten knowledge about this, and those people who are in office, people that are looking at the climate, they are basically supposed to come down to the ground to the last person in the country to educate them about climate. I personally, without my, if we go away from my social media platforms, I spend most of my time, if I'm not at school, I'm not at work, then I'm at church. And church is full of so many different people, categories, the young, the old, different professions in church, and these are many people. And I'm always given that opportunity to tell people about climate change. And when I get also time to educate a small group of people, I've started moving from school to school, educating them about climate change, educating them about plastic disposal. If you come to my country, Uganda, you will be so surprised at how the youth do not mind about climate, do not mind about how they are disposing their plastics. Someone is seated in a very luxurious car, but this person drinks maybe a bottle of soda and later on throws a plastic through the window. And when floods come, what is going to happen? It is going to sweep us all away because we are destroying the environment. If you're to look at our mothers, probably in the rural areas, they are cutting down trees because they want firewood for fuel. Others are doing deforestation because of population, people are coming in to settle in. And no one is talking about this. No one is able to stand out and say, no, we need the trees around. We could have gas cookers for cooking. We could have electricity. No one is standing out to talk about the government that is imposing high taxes on electricity. On electricity, you know, you cannot impose high tariffs on electricity and you do not expect people to cut down trees for fuel. So it all goes back to us, the youth, that are able to talk to the youth, and it also goes back to the government officials that can stand out and speak about this. When I come back to social media and then talk about early child marriages, I personally, I've traveled to different districts in my country. Recently, 2 weeks back, as in a district called Karamoja. If you all Google, and you can Google and look for Karamoja, you'll see that Karamoja is a semi-desert area, and it's full of mothers, young mothers, basically, girls of age 15 to 16, okay, 18, but basically 16. They are young mothers, but if area, people are starving because their land is totally dry, so they have no food. They are starving, they are dying, but all this is because of the climate crisis that is happening there, and everyone is silent about it. When I got there and I saw that they do not have food, and I'm seeing young girls that are young mothers, and I was interacting with a few of them, and one of them told me that it gets so tough for the girl child once it is their menstrual time. When they are experiencing menstruation, they end up failing even to look at their hygiene. We are women and we need water to keep our hygiene. But when you go to Karamoja and you look at these young girls, basically they are not minding about their hygiene, because even the water they are having, because they are experiencing water scarcity, the only water left to them is for cooking a few foodstuffs that they have in. So they look at hygiene as something that is not important to them, but they surely need this. And all this goes back to we, the young people, that are able to stand out and speak for these people that are in Karamoja, to put their voices out through my media app, because I work with a media house and I'm a GPT CEO. We are basically shooting documentaries. I don't know if I'll be given an opportunity or any other platform to send each of you these documentaries after this session, so that you could look at the documentaries that we are shooting, and you literally see where women like us of WFWP could come out and support these young girls who need something to eat, who need educational, who need sexual talks, because sex is so important. So we need to educate them. We could go out there, look at how they are surviving. So thank you very much.
To you. Let me just quickly go to Miss Juguna. from the strategic point of view, as someone who identifies as a strategist, what do you think are some of the opportunities that young people could leverage on to continue to be champions of child marriages in their various communities?
As for child marriages and the youth, I think the youth are in a position to educate the community as a whole, the impact of early marriages and how that that contributes to the society. The youth are the educated generation, like the future of tomorrow. And if they're in a position to engage the community as a whole, okay, the traditions, the cultures are okay, but some cultures, let's say like the Eastern cultures, those mostly the Maasai and the Somalis, the older community, they engage a lot in early marriages, which is not healthy, considering, okay, as early as 13 years, 12 years, you get a 13 or a 15-year-old being married to a 50-year-old man in exchange for some cattle or some land. The youth, okay, the educated youth, since in some parts, okay, currently the government is trying to enable free education to all areas, but to the few ones that have not gotten the education, they find it difficult to embrace the culture where girls are girls and not brides. Yeah, so I think the young people should try to reach those areas, spread the news that, okay, that young girls should actually be in school and not out there. Let's say once one is married, they automatically starts, okay, the older guys will expect an heir, so they'll start getting kids. Yeah, and the young girls, they should actually be in school, learning, getting knowledge, being intelligent. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Juguna. I believe Ms. Gomez is back with us. Ms. Gomez, I have a question for you. As someone who has been doing incredible work in your community when it comes to championing the rights of women and girls, what do you think are some of the challenges that are impeding the efforts of civil society organizations, especially those that are young-led, to achieve the goals of ending child marriages around the globe? And what do you think are some of the proposed solutions to such challenges?
Thank you so much for your question, Ms. Musu. And I think like there'll always be challenges that we face as long as we're trying to fight for a good cause that has been culturally deeply rooted before we were even brought to this earth. So to just highlight some of those, because child marriage, if you look at the courses that a lot of people use to back the practice, mostly it's usually cited towards poverty. It's also cited towards, you know, the fear of girls being pregnant before they get married. It's also usually cited towards a lot of issues, climate change, which is also a very prevalent cause of child marriage. So some of these causes, for example, I'm from the Gambia, so I could cite examples from the Gambia better. When you go to these places, the provinces, and then you try to advocate against child marriage, and anything they tell you is it's usually about their honor. Then how do you think I can be able to protect my daughter? How do you think I can be able to ensure that my daughter is not pregnant and she doesn't bring shame to the family. So for example, I'm going to cite a very good example from Senegal, where, you know, we have, that's going to be the solutions. But some of these challenges is usually families that usually think that we don't know the best for their kids. It's their kids at the end of the day that will get pregnant, and the stigma attached to it usually comes to their family and not to us. These are some of the challenges. And I think the other challenge is that people don't actually understand there are better ways that they can be able to communicate with their daughters to prevent them from getting pregnant before they get married. And I think some of the solutions that could be done is to ensure that we have dialogues, we have conversations with these people, we have conversations with communities, with parents, with community leaders who are very much into these practice, and ensure that they understand where we're coming from, and ensure that they understand that child marriage is not the solution to end teenage pregnancy. Child marriage is not the solution to end their predicament in poverty. And one of the practices that I think it could work, that I already see Senegal practicing, is actually having these young girls have these conversations with their parents, with the community leaders. It could be in form of a dialogue. And one very interesting thing that worked was you have these young girls have a kind of a deal with their parents and their community leaders. And the deal, the practice is called the New Deal. And then the deal entails that the girls promise that they will not get married as long as they promise them that, and they will not get pregnant as long as they promise them that they will give them quality education, as long as they promise them that they will not make them go through FGM, as long as they promise them that they will be protected from any harmful and traditional practices. And of course, with these practices, there are other issues that could hinder it, that could hamper it, which could be the issue of rape, which they have highlighted as an exception. So if any girl is pregnant as a result of rape, it's not going to end the deal that they have. But as long as they have they become pregnant due to other reasons, then it could affect the deal that they have, and their parents will send them to early marriage as the deal they have. So I think that could be a solution, to have conversations between these girls, because always the CSOs are the intermediary, which is helpful, but it's also very important to have the young girls be part of these conversations with their parents, with their community leaders, so the parents understand that it's not what their kids want, it's not what the daughters actually want. They're just doing it because of whatever reason they have. So they should also consult the girls, because at the end of the day, it's the girls that would face all of the consequences of child marriage outside their parents' house.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gomez. Thank you so much. Just to remind our participants that you can ask your questions under the Q&A section of the Zoom. Dr. Yakubi, there is a question here for you, and it states, for Dr. Yakubi, have you approached the husbands to find out why they are buying children as wives?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there were several occasions that I really have to try to sort of buy the girl back from the men who bought the girl. So I discussed this with the men who bought the girl for 12 years old girl for a bag of rice from the parents. And then he had her in her house. And then the mother, after years, she was crying and she came back to me to try to save the girl. I said, who I am? I'm not the government. I cannot do anything. But I try to get involved. So when I went to the men, I find the man. I brought him to my office and I said, why did you marry this girl? She is only 12 years old. And the girl, it was a horrible situation. If you look at the girl was really abused. Her whole body has bruises. She was really in a bad condition. And I said, why? And that was the reason the mother was finally come to us, So I said, why did you marry her? And he said that they sold her to me and that she is my property. I said, how do you think? You call yourself Muslim. You call yourself that you believe in God. Do you think that God wants you to do that? Don't you afraid that God will punish you for this? She is a child. She is a little child. How do you expect her to do a duty for work? Because they were pushing her to do work at home home, cook, clean, do all those things that she never had done, and she didn't know how to do it. So he said, well, that is not my fault. This is her father, and I give money. I have to take advantage of my money. So I really tried to, I said, this is wrong. You're doing wrong things. This is not right. And I said, well, I give you to the government. And of course, the government here, I was trying to say that we, as an individual, we could not deal the challenge. We have to deal with government, with elder of the community, with a mullah, with the tradition people, and also with the youth group. We must involve everybody to be involved to really try to find a solution for this, because it is not an easy way to get rid of this mentality, because that have been engraved in their mind that this is their wife, this is a property for them, they can use it any way that they want to. So to make a long story short, we got the guy, we paid the man back the things that he was. We took the girl back and we take the girl to her family. But my point is that we have to use media. You ask about media from somebody. We have to use media. We have to really try to use media in a positive way, try to encourage people that this is not only is a child abuse, it is a violence against women. It is physically, mentally, morally. It is something that is affect the child, and that child never can be a full woman, because that child already, her body is completely, physically is completely destroyed. Because can you imagine a 12 years old child deliver a baby, and not only deliver the baby, but also under that kind of pressure live a life that they are living. So it's degradation of the child, the value is she feel like nothing. She feel she is nobody. And we must try to encourage people through media, through activity, through role model, to show that these young women can do so much good if they get education. If they get education, they can be a better mother. They can physically be healthier. They can reach their children. They can reach their husband. They can serve their family better if they are educated. When they are not educated, they never went to school. They don't know anything better, and they are so little. If you take them, you see them that when they get to some event or they go somewhere, they become a child. They really become a child because they are a child. Yes, you can look at their eyes, it's like an adult. But when you take them to a party or somewhere, they become a child. They are child. So we must encourage this. It's not an easy task, but we must demand from the government today have a role, a law that is protect this girl. It demanding a role in a law is mean that at least the minimum year that a child can get married, at least 18 years old. And that 18 years old with recommendation of education, that those children has to go to school, finish at least 12th grade, that they know about their body, they know how to deal with it. So that is my recommendation. And I think that it is, I don't want to take anybody's right, but I really believe in education, and also poverty must to be get rid of it. Because no matter how much we say, my dear friend Timino, she said that the UN has been working for this for a long time, but what we achieve, we just talk and talk and talk. We are not doing action. We must start in action. It means that we must perform. Involve the government, ask the government to, they have a big part in it. They are the one that who really committing the crime, because they are not looking for job opportunity for those people, for their poverty situation. When flood come, as this girl said, it takes everything and it degrades the area. These women are suffering because they go and pitch wood, and they come and with many diseases by themselves, and they burn all kinds of things, and they breathe those things. You know, it is a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. We must educate and we must involve other people. One person cannot do something, or one organization can. We have to hold hands together and work together. That's my request.
Thank you, Dr. Yakubi. I wish we had time to read all the questions and to allow the panelists to respond to them. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, and as a result of this, I would now have to hand things over to Dr. Susan Kone, who is going to give the closing remarks. Dr. Susan Kone is the International Vice President of WFWP Africa. She is a professional mediator and a mentor for the youth. She is the coordinator of the Green Solar Energy for the African Villages project, which lights up villages by providing provisions of solar lamps to empower women. In 2021, the United Graduate Seminary International USA awarded her an honorary doctorate of philosophy in humanities. Dr. Kone, over to you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, honorable panelists, and the leaders of Women Federation, GWPN awardees, and all the global community watching us. Warm greetings from Kenya, the East African country, and I'm honored to give the closing remarks in this prestigious event as we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Women Federation International and the commemoration of the 77th anniversary of when the UN Charter went into effect. It is also a golden opportunity when our youth were recognized with the Global Peace Women Ambassadors for Climate Adaptation, for working in advocacy and actual projects which promotes climate adaptation and nurturing the environment. We congratulate them and celebrate them. Special thanks to Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, the founder of Women Federation International. In her wisdom and vision, founded this global organization of women, which is a safe place for women to share ideas through networking, empowerment programs, education and training, and gives room for every woman to reach their full potential and influence positively the future of the planet. The NGO also encourages women and young girls to use their maternal love to care for government and be part of the solution to global challenges. We also sincerely appreciate the Women Federation International President, Dr. Julia Moon, for her leadership and mentorship, which is exemplary and gives the NGO the roadmap towards the success and accomplishment of their founding vision and mission. Many thanks to Dr. Selina Moon, the Senior International Vice President of Women Federation International, who have inspired many women and girls by her sense of leadership, love, and compassion that she has for the climate change, adaptation, and environmental programs. Her project Giving for Good International has supported many environmental and climate projects in the world and indeed in Africa. Thank you, Mrs. Caroline Hanschin, the Director of Women Federation International Relations Office, Geneva, and Mrs. Mary Baran, the Deputy Director in New York, for having guided this Office of UN Affairs with diligence and clear vision, and also for having initiated this inspiring forum. For your team worked so hard, and your work will surely bear fruit. The theme, UN Dream, creating an environment where girls can be girls, not brides, is valid and very hopeful to young girls, and especially in Africa, where many young girls are married off at an early age and denied the chance to be who they were meant to be. And so there's a big percentage of many girls who will never have a chance to grow up and to their potential unless we shout loud enough in the advocacy of their situation and create the right environment for them. In the introduction, we had that every day, 39,000 girls under the age of 18 are married globally. This equates to approximately 14 million girls annually. This means we need more voices and advocacy to highlight the plight of these young girls. And it's a fact that child marriage exposes children to multiple forms of abuse, including intimate partner violence, sexual assault, and female genital mutilation, while endangering their mental and physical well-being and deny them all of their independence and fundamental rights to liberty and security of person, amongst others. Although child marriages are caused by a variety of overlapping factors, including gender inequality, social and cultural norms and standards, poverty, displacement and conflict, and a lack of education, studies and findings indicate that climate change and other environmental disasters are exacerbating the problem, and this cannot be right by any standards. This forum is a bridge which will give our girls an orientation on how best they can use their skills and talents to take care of the environment, and by so doing, impact their lives and those of their families, communities, and nations. I sincerely thank all the excellencies and distinguished speakers and panelists for having honored the invitation and sharing their views. We have had many important perspectives which were shared and were highlighted, and the need to advocate for climate change and adaptation. The need for women and girls to be part and parcel of this global challenge. We have witnessed and heard from our young girls who have just been awarded that we all need to be part and parcel of the solution. Also, it is inspiring to see some of the projects which are ongoing, and that is creating an impact. We have also heard of a number of adaptation strategies that can be implemented to curb the challenges of climate change and curb early marriages. Thank you all for your valuable contributions. I believe that we are all in agreement that the climate change challenges that the planet is facing needs everyone's participation, including governments, NGOs, academia, civil society, and youth initiatives. Also, we agree that our girls need to go to school and reach their full potential, no matter what the climate dictates. If we can all work together in partnership, it can change the plight of our youth who are deeply affected by the very effects of climate change and give them a new lease of life and livelihoods. Your presence and participation is a big encouragement to our work by opening new avenues of partnerships. On behalf of the organizers, Women Federation International Office for UN Relations, I wish to thank you all for your participation, not forgetting our wonderful guests and participants from all over the globe. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Susan Kone, for your wonderful, hopeful closing message. I would like to thank everyone. Thank you for joining us this time in celebrating the UN Day and anniversary of Women's Federation, and most especially to our esteemed distinguished speakers, Dr. Yakubi, Madam Tomo, and our new Global Women Peace Ambassadors, and to our young leaders in Africa. The more we have Global Women Peace Ambassadors taking ownership of this very heavy topic, we can end child marriages and give a beautiful, better life for our young girls. And thank you all for such a rich conversation. Thank you, Musu, for moderating the session. I learned a lot, and it's heartrending to hear all these stories. But yes, you shed light, all of you shed light and brought hope and positive messages for the future, despite of this very heavy topic. And to all of you who are watching us on Facebook and YouTube and our international community, despite of the great problems we face, as long as we have hope and you are with us and we work together, we can build a better future and achieve that UN dream. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Grace, could we, with the speakers, before you, if you can stay, and interpreters, everyone, but I'd like to take a photo op